The history of Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, begins long before written records. Archaeological evidence shows that the region of present-day Myanmar was already inhabited by hunter-gatherer communities around 11,000 years before Christ. These early groups lived along major river systems, especially the Irrawaddy River, using the fertile plains for hunting, fishing, and later for agriculture. From around 3,000 years before Christ, a more settled way of life developed, accompanied by the use of bronze and later iron. Between approximately 500 years before Christ and 500 years after Christ, several ethnic groups settled in the region, including the Piao, the Mon, and later the Bamar. The Paiute established early city-states such as Sri Kshetra and Baekthano, which were strongly influenced by Indian culture. During this period, Buddhism and Hinduism spread into the region, along with Indian systems of writing, administration, and state organization. Buddhism, particularly in its Theravada tradition, would come to shape Myanmar's cultural and religious identity in a lasting way. In the 9th century after Christ, the Bamar people began to rise to prominence after migrating southward into the Irrawaddy Valley. In the year 849 after Christ, they founded the city of Bagan, which quickly developed into a major political and religious center. The kingdom of Bagan reached its height during the 11th and 12th centuries after Christ. Under King Anuradha, who ruled from 1044 to 1061 after Christ, Theravada Buddhism was established as the state religion. More than 10,000 temples, pagodas, and monasteries were constructed in Bagan, many of which still stand today. The decline of Bagan began in the 13th century after Christ, caused by internal power struggles and Mongol invasions under Kublai Khan. In the year 1288 after Christ, Bagan fell, and Myanmar fragmented into several smaller kingdoms. In the centuries that followed, regional powers such as the Kingdom of Ava in the north and the Mon Kingdom of Hanthawaddy in the south dominated the political landscape. This period was marked by shifting alliances, frequent conflicts, and significant cultural diversity. In the 16th century after Christ, the Taungoo dynasty succeeded in reunifying Myanmar. Under King Bayanong, who ruled from 1555 to 1580 after Christ, one of the largest empires in Southeast Asian history emerged, encompassing territories in present-day Thailand, Laos, and parts of India. After his death, however, the empire rapidly declined, as his successors were unable to maintain the centralized authority he had established. In the 18th century after Christ, the Konbaung dynasty rose to power and once again unified Myanmar. The dynasty pursued an aggressive expansionist policy, which eventually brought it into direct conflict with the British Empire. Between 1824 and 1888 after Christ, 3 Anglo-Burmese wars resulted in Myanmar's total defeat. In the year 1888 after Christ, Burma was formally incorporated into British India. British colonial rule transformed the country profoundly. Traditional political and social structures were dismantled. The economy was reoriented toward exports, particularly rice and teak, and large segments of the population were pushed into poverty. At the same time, a new Western-educated political elite emerged. Resistance to colonial rule grew steadily, especially in the early 20th century after Christ. Nationalist movements formed, including the group known as the 30 Comrades, led by Aung San. During the Second World War, Burma became a major theater of conflict. Nationalist forces initially supported Japan in the hope of gaining independence, but later turned against the Japanese occupation. After the war, Britain entered negotiations regarding independence. In the year 1947 after Christ, Aung San was assassinated, but his vision of an independent nation endured. On the 4th of January 1948 after Christ, Burma achieved independence. The early years of independence were marked by political instability, ethnic insurgencies, and economic hardship. In the year 1962 after Christ, the military seized power in a coup led by General Ne Win. This ushered in a long period of authoritarian rule, international isolation, and economic stagnation. The so-called Burmese way to socialism led to widespread nationalization and deepening poverty. In the year 1988 after Christ, nationwide protests demanding democracy erupted, violently suppressed. The military junta remained in power, officially renamed the country Myanmar, and later held elections whose results it refused to honor. The National League for Democracy, led by Aung San Suu Kyi, won a decisive victory but was prevented from governing. Aung San Suu Kyi spent many years under house arrest and became an international symbol of nonviolent resistance. From the year 2010 after Christ onward, a cautious political opening began. Political reforms were introduced, prisoners were released, and a partial return to civilian governance took place. In the year 2015 after Christ, the National League for Democracy again won national elections, and Aung San Suu Kyi assumed a leading role in government, although real power remained firmly in the hands of the military. At the same time, international criticism intensified due to the violent persecution and mass displacement of the Rohingya minority beginning in the year 2017 after Christ. On the 1st of February 2021 after Christ, the military staged another coup and overthrew the elected government. Massive protests followed, met by severe repression and widespread violence. Myanmar descended into a prolonged civil conflict that severely damaged the economy, healthcare system, and education sector. By the year 2025 after Christ, the political situation remained deeply unstable. The military continued to hold power, while opposition forces, ethnic armed groups, and civilian resistance movements struggled over the future of the country. Thus, the history of Myanmar up to the present day is a history of profound cultural depth, religious continuity, colonial domination, military control, and the enduring struggle of its people for self-determination, dignity, and peace.